And welcome to Centennial Chats. I'm Christina Grievous.
I'm Melanie Holmes.
And we're here today to talk to you about women in non-traditional roles. We are going to be wait a little bit, about 3 more minutes, just to ensure that all of our guests are live and are present at our for our chat. But until then, if you have any questions, you can feel free to input them in the questions box, and we will address them at the end of our presentation. How are you doing today?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. Wasn't as cold today as it has been, so a little bit more enjoyable to walk.
Absolutely.
In and around the city. Yeah. Especially here at Centennial, we have a lot going on this week and every week. Most of our students, or future students, actually received their offers of admission this week.
Absolutely.
So it's a big week. You can actually check out our Facebook pages and our Twitter pages to see who and how many individuals were and are going to be attending Centennial next year.
Yeah, a lot of very excited people this week.
Mm-hmm. It's an exciting time. Well, actually, next week we're going to have pause for positivity. So essentially, we're actually going to have some animals here on campus. If you're in the neighborhood, you can join us at our Progress campus and come and say hello to our furry little friends that will be here.
One of my favorite days of the year.
Yeah.
Puppies on campus.
Exactly. Puppies, and sometimes they give away free pizza. So if you happen to be here and shake a paw with your friend, then you can get a slice of pizza too. So we just have 2 more minutes. If you have any questions, please feel free to address them in the questions box. And if not, we actually will have the event page still going after our Hangout. So you can feel free to input any questions you have on the event page, as well as we are going to be sharing some important links with you on the event page as well that include links to YWCA and to our website that's for women in non-traditional careers as well. As we're also going to give you Melanie's contact details.
Excellent.
If it's not in the presentation.
I don't think it is.
Right, yeah. So we can provide that for you too. So we just have 1 more minute. Do you know any good jokes?
No, I'm not very funny.
I have 2 peanuts walking down the street. One was assaulted.
Oh,
assaulted peanut. Wah, wah, wah. That was a mom-dad friendly joke. So I think we're ready to begin. So as I mentioned, I'm Christina. I'm actually responsible for digital recruitment, and I'm going to be hosting an array of chats on Google Hangouts, so please feel free to join us on a weekly basis, generally on Tuesdays or Wednesdays at noon. And Melanie, do you want to talk a little bit about what you do at Centennial and what you're doing for this particular demographic and program?
Great, thank you. My name is Melanie Holmes. I'm the Community Outreach Coordinator for Women in Non-Traditional Careers here at Centennial College. What my role is here at the college is to engage girls and women in thinking outside the box when it comes to their careers, looking at jobs that fall within the skilled trades and technology, and maybe even some different jobs in community and government service as well. Really looking at increasing our female enrollment in some more male-dominated programs, and really just helping women access education.
Awesome. Well, we're excited to hear more about what how you're involved in these in such initiatives. And essentially, our presentation, we're going to be coming back to you in this format, but we're going to take you through your PowerPoint as well, so that we can get a little bit more in depth about the opportunities that are available here at Centennial. So again, if you have any questions, please feel free to input them in the questions box, and then we'll address them at the end of our presentation. So Melanie, when we hear non-traditional, it's often, not a term or not something that we typically hear when it comes to women in careers. So can you explain a little bit about what exactly non-traditional means to you?
Sure, absolutely. So I usually like to start any sort of a discussion with asking others as well is what does the term non-traditional mean to you? And so I like to reflect, and what you're seeing up on the screen is sort of what I think of when I'm thinking of non-traditional. So I think about breaking barriers and stepping outside your comfort zone and redefining stereotypes, as well as sort of more, I guess, in the realm of my job is thinking about non-traditional careers and non-traditional education. When we think about education, we tend to think 4 years of high school, 2 years of college, and then you work until you're ready to retire. And there's so many different pathways and so many different options that I think it's really important to be able to explore all those options, whether they're traditional or non-traditional, when looking at planning your future.
Did you happen to see that awesome commercial during the Super Bowl that was talking about, it was pertaining to women and what it meant to certain individuals to run and punch and throw like a female or a girl versus how other people interpreted the same concepts? What are your thoughts on that commercial?
It's a great commercial. It hurts my heart a little bit to be able to see that as we start to get older, the sort of traditional gender stereotypes come into play so often, and it makes us as women feel that there's certain things that we should do or things that we shouldn't do based solely on our gender. So the Like a Girl commercial is awesome. It's just a way then that moving forward, how we're able to take what a young girl sees as her potential in the world and moving that through as that girl goes into womanhood and letting them see that they absolutely have all the same abilities and all the same things that they thought they could do when they were a girl. You can still do that as a woman.
Awesome. I'm really fond of that commercial and that whole initiative as well. And why is it, do you think, women are not in, non-traditional careers similar to the ones that are outlined here?
Sure, and I think a lot of it comes back to that commercial that we were just talking about too, is that even from a very young age, it's sort of just pushed into our brain, whether it's through media or through society or through our friends or our family, is sort of what's acceptable for a woman to do and what's not acceptable for a woman to do. Look at toys. You walk down the girl aisle in a toy store and it's all dolls and Barbies and makeup and jewelry, and then you look down the quote unquote boys toy aisle and it's building and construction and engineering and all those things that will eventually turn into really good paying jobs. Mm-hmm. And so from such a young age where we're just sort of pushed in one direction, it's hard to come back as a teenager or even as a woman to come back and say, I want to do something that I've never done before, and to be able to embrace that. And I think that tends to scare a lot of women away.
Mm-hmm. It's actually quite a shame because there's so many opportunities and there's so much demand, and there'll always be demand for non-traditional careers and in these professions that we've highlighted here. So I think we covered this a little bit. Do you think that as we move forward in time that the idea and concept will change for younger females, or do you think that we've sort of plateaued in terms of that perception?
I think we're getting there. It's going to be a long journey. And for every woman who dares to try something new and dares to step out of her comfort zone to jump into a more male-dominated occupation, I think that it's going to be something that will eventually, bring her towards, working as a pioneer to the next generation and the next generation, and it continues to move on that way. But it is something that we are seeing some differences when you look at things like culinary arts. That used to be a very male-dominated occupation, and now we're seeing almost parity between men and women in the industry. Mm-hmm. When you look at the banking industry and women in upper management positions, it's beginning to evolve. And it didn't used to. So I think sort of the skilled trades and technology sector is sort of that last frontier when it comes to women and men seeking parity in employment.
Right. It's actually the same too in dentistry. It used to be, now it's about 60 to 65% more female dominated rather than what it used to be in the past with predominantly males in that sector.
Yeah, absolutely. Engineering is also seeing a big increase as well, that it's starting to go up. And now when I say big increase, I mean, we're looking at 13 to 15% versus, when we're looking at skilled trades where it's 2% province-wide. So it does make a big difference, but slowly but surely we're working our way.
Living there. And I mean, these common myths, I've heard that a lot, not just from men, but from women as well. Mm-hmm. Trade jobs aren't creative. There's not, trade jobs are for students who don't do well in school, which again, like I don't think is pretty accurate. As mentioned, there is a lot of creativity that's involved with skilled trades, carpentry and such, and math and English are both essential in architecture and building, and even within obviously engineering. And there's some other common myths that you think people generally have.
Yeah, absolutely. There's quite a few, and I think we can go on right onto the next slide as well, because there are lots of myths that are out there. One of the biggest ones, and you'll know by the fact that I'm so passionate about it, I had to use caps, is that trades jobs are for people who aren't good in school. Trades jobs are actually more academically challenging to get into than to get into most community college programs. Which is something that a lot of people don't think of, because we've thought about sort of the hierarchy of post-secondary education for so long with, well, if I can't go to college, I'll just do a trade. And when we look at it, you have to have English and math, and a lot of the times you need physics as well, depending on the trade. So you're definitely looking at some big academic competencies, because these are difficult jobs when it comes to, if you're measuring or if you're dealing with electrical circuits. If you want to be safe, you're going to need to make sure that you know how to calculate things properly. As well as women aren't strong enough to work in the trades. That's definitely one that maybe perhaps long ago, but with the increase in technology in the workplace makes a very big difference. Take, for instance, a truck and coach technician. Male or female, you're not going to be able to lift some of those parts on a big truck or a big coach bus, because they're just too heavy for anyone, regardless of gender. So it's a lot of the times more along the lines of working smarter, not harder, utilizing the technologies that are available for you. So it really does come down a lot to dexterity and stamina and hand-eye coordination, and being able to do the small, intricate work too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And our apprenticeship program is actually amongst the most popular at Centennial.
Absolutely,
right?
Absolutely. Our School of Transportation has some spectacular programs that are entry points into apprenticeships, and yeah, among some of the best in the country.
And we had the first, I believe, automotive program within our college.
I believe so. Yeah.
Go Centennial.
Yep.
So I just want to talk a little bit about the general consensus, or not general, but how some individuals pass judgment on women who are in non-traditional careers. So as you can see here, there's the hypersexualization of a female and the hyposexualization of a female. What have you encountered in terms of like when you're presenting and when you're out on the road and doing some of your events and fairs?
These are two, I'll say that I found these two images. These were the first two images that came up on a Google search when I typed in women in trades, which I find very disappointing in Google. But that being said, I think that there are a lot of people who feel this way. In regards to the hypersexualization, it's all about, I'm the only woman in the workplace, or I'm going to be seen as the only woman because I'm the only one there. Therefore, I'll be, I might get harassed, or I might be treated differently. And, in some instances, there's still a few employers out there that are maybe a little behind the times. But that being said, there's also, more so than not, the employers that are looking to diversify their workforce, that are looking to be able to increase their female participation in skilled trades. And then there's the other side of the spectrum, which is the hyposexualization, that is, in order for me to fit in, I need to look like one of the boys. I can't have long hair, I need to wear baggy clothes, and I have to lose everything feminine about me. And that definitely is not true at all. Now, mind you, if you're working on a car all day, you probably won't have pretty pink fingernails. But that being said, that's your job. I don't always dress the same at work as I do when I'm home on the weekend, and most people are probably the same way. So I think it's a matter of sort of finding your balance and finding who you are and being comfortable with that. Because who you are in your workplace does not necessarily define who you are as a woman or as an individual, but it is quite common to have these two sort of images appear in your mind when you say, what do you think of when you think of a woman in skilled trades?
And I think it's even fair to say that most men are so of our generation, and they've adapted to women everywhere and women in all sorts of fields. And so for them, it's not really, I don't feel it's a non-issue sometimes, because they are just really comfortable they're comfortable with women dominating, and they're comfortable with women in an array of professions, whether they are traditional or not. So I just wanted to give a little credit to
absolutely
to the opposite sex, because I feel like a lot of these perceptions are archaic.
Absolutely. Archaic is a great word for it. Yes. And a lot of the times that's exactly what it is. It's just this sort of ingrained in our mind. And so once we get over that, and yes, absolutely, with our generation and hopefully with generations moving forward, it's going to be less and less, because it's going to be more common now to see more women in the workplace in the more male dominated occupations. So it can definitely change.
I love this slide. I was looking at this earlier, and I just think it's so awesome to just see the comparison with regards to the salary differences.
Absolutely. And this is something that is mind-blowing, because all of these occupations up here require exactly the same amount of education. It's not that we're comparing someone who spent 2 years in school versus 5 years in school. These are all apprenticeable trades. But then looking at the female-dominated occupations, the wages are so much lower, and it really does make a huge difference. I mean, we talk about skilled trades being great when it comes to earning potential, but it has to be the right trades, as with any occupation that you're looking at. But looking more towards the male-dominated trades, the automotive service technicians, which we mentioned our School of Transportation is one of the best in the country. Women only represent about 2% of the occupation in Ontario, but earn almost $48,000 a year on average. Electricians, 1% of electricians in Ontario are women, but they earn almost $60,000 a year. That's spectacular.
Cha-ching.
Exactly. And then avionics technician. So those are the people who are in charge of repairing and maintaining airplanes. A little bit higher in terms of female participation, about 10%. But
that's great considering the other.
So definitely seeing a bit more of an increase. But again, earning potential around $70,000 a year. One of the really good things about the aviation technicians is by getting your credentials here in Canada, you're able to go and work in multiple countries. So once you get that trade designation here in Ontario or in Canada, you can go and work just about anywhere. So you can fix planes in a beach somewhere if that's what you want to do.
And we actually are pretty fortunate enough here at Centennial to have a really great and long-standing relationship with Air Canada. So they typically hire a lot of Centennial students.
Absolutely.
And most of their employees have, you see, I can post a link to the aviation video on YouTube, but they reference the fact that most of their employees within the avionics technician field are actually from our Centennial graduates. So you will be hired as well. Not guaranteed by Air Canada, just implying that you will find a job. You will be very hireable.
So the first point here actually leads back to that last slide that we were looking at, is that women in male-dominated trades tend to earn about 20 to 30% more than women in female-dominated occupations. And for those who think maybe I don't like to spend a whole lot of time sitting in class, I'm a really hands-on kind of person, you spend very little time in skilled trades sitting in a classroom. You're looking at, most classroom time, you're looking at 60% of your time is spent in class and another 40% in the lab when you're here doing diploma programs. Or if you're doing a traditional apprenticeship, you're only here about 8 weeks a year. So it really is, for hands-on learners, it's a great way to be able to go. I wish I had thought about that when I was younger. And skilled trades are always in demand. I'm sure most people have heard about this sort of looming skill shortage as all of the skilled trade workers are preparing to retire in the next 10 years. And really, when we look at things like, Cars are always going to break down. Cars are always going to get in accidents and need to be repainted. Trucks and trains bring all of the food that we eat. There's always a demand. Everything that we get comes in some mode of transportation, and it always needs to be maintained. We always need heat in the winter in Canada. We always like our air conditioning in the summer, and we like to have the lights on. So there's always a demand within the skilled trades.
And within our programs that are within the skilled trades, we offer a business administration component too, right? So,
absolutely.
So if you're looking to not only be hired by another company or by a certain organization, you can actually partake in an entrepreneurial endeavor and obtain the skills here to perhaps start a practice or a business of your own, which is also beneficial. So you're not just gaining the skills, but you're gaining the knowledge to back up an idea that you might have that can work in combination with the trade that you're actually learning.
That's right. That's right.
Cool. So I know that for myself, I often hear a lot about volunteering opportunities and interning opportunities. But again, with apprenticing, it's something that is so valuable, but not something that a lot of people are familiar with. So can you elaborate a little bit more on apprenticing?
Absolutely. There's a lot of people who don't fully understand what an apprenticeship is, which makes it hard sometimes to be able to talk about what a great opportunity it is. Some of the big taglines with apprenticeship are a system of learning by doing, or earn while you learn, if you've never heard that from a high school guidance counselor. But what it really breaks down to is you spend about 90% of your time working and about 10% of your time in college. And what that means then is one of the first benefits of on-the-job training means you're getting paid. So it is a job. You would be registered as an apprentice, which means it becomes an agreement between yourself, the government, and your employer to say, I agree that I'm going to learn all of these tasks. So say, for instance, you choose to become an electrician. You would find an employer who'd be interested in training you while you're working. You would work and work and work for probably about a year or so, and then you would get a letter from the government that says it's time for you to go to school. Then you'd come and join us at Centennial for about 8 weeks at a time. At the end of that 8 weeks, you go back to work again. This time you'd be a second-year apprentice, and you'd work and you'd work. And once we get to about a year or so, again, you get a letter from the government saying it's time to go back to school. So you come back to Centennial again, and you repeat that about 3 times, all in the time frame. But you are working full time, except for the 8 weeks at a time that you're at Centennial. And after that, you would go and write an exam. And at the end of that exam, you'd, assuming you pass, you get your red seal or your certificate of qualification. And that's going to be your equivalent to a college diploma, something that says I'm an expert in my field.
So if I'm in high school, or if I'm not in high school, but I have an aunt or uncle who has a business and they offer to take me on as an apprentice, am I able to pursue that at Centennial, and are they able to then take me on as an apprentice? But how does that work?
Usually, yeah. If you've got someone who's ready to sign you up as an apprentice, you would need to actually reach out to the government. I would direct anybody to the Ministry of Training Colleges and Universities website on sort of the step-by-steps on how to do that. It's a fair bit of paperwork. But it's absolutely, if you've got an organization, someone who's got a licensed technician working there, and that's sort of the key point, is you have to be working under someone who is a licensed technician to be able to go ahead and start that apprenticeship. Absolutely.
And if I don't know anyone and I have no idea how to go about apprenticing outside of contacting the government or whatnot, if I apply to an apprenticeship program at Centennial, do they assist me with finding a position or a role?
We do have some programs that are sort of different pathways to an apprenticeship. So the pathway that I described here is what we would call a traditional apprenticeship, where you would go out and find that job first. And then once you've got that job, you'd go back to school. That's hard for a lot of people. And so because that's hard for a lot of people, colleges like Centennial have created different pathways to help you get there. So you can take different classes at Centennial to be able to help get you to that first step of apprenticeship. I think it's the next slide, actually.
And there's also a great resource,
Yeah.
apprenticesearch.ca.
So let's look at some college pathways. Sorry, the next slide, we'll look at some college pathways to skilled trades. So each of these programs here are offered at Centennial College. No, this is good, yeah.
Okay.
And so there's multiple pathways to be able to get to an apprenticeship, realizing that first pathway is the trickiest one.
Mm-hmm.
So pre-apprenticeship programs are government-funded programs, so they don't usually cost any tuition, and they're offered at different community colleges. So we offer several pre-apprenticeship programs at Centennial. 2 of them have a female focus, and the rest are open up to everyone. So we offer a refrigeration and air conditioning systems technician pre-apprenticeship program specifically for women. We run an electrician pre-apprenticeship program specifically for women. We also offer co-ed programs in truck and coach technician and automotive service technician. And what those programs do is they provide academic upgrading, your first 8 weeks of in-class training at Centennial College, as well as a job placement. And the reason they offer the job placement is to help you get to that very first step if you don't have the aunt or uncle that can help you sign up as an apprentice. So it's really like an 8-week job interview where you would go in and you would work with someone in almost like an internship type position. Sometimes they're paid, sometimes they're not paid. It depends on the employer, but it will allow them to be able to go out and hopefully just gain some experience to make that first step of saying, I'd like to become a registered apprentice a little bit easier.
And are they just catered to women? They're tailored to women because they're funded for women? Or is it, what is the reasoning behind the programming just being for women?
For sure. We did ours by choice,
okay.
Realizing that the 2 programs that we did, the electrician and the refrigeration air conditioning mechanic, both of those have 1% female participation in Ontario, which is pretty low. The Ministry of Training, Colleges and Universities, who funds both those programs, in partnership with the YWCA of Toronto, we've opted to provide that as an opportunity to help more women get into that industry, because it's severely underrepresented for women.
Okay. Yeah. And the modified or co-apprenticeship and
Sure, and the rest of those are all actually full-time Centennial College programs. So the modified apprenticeship programs, what they do is they take all 3 levels of that in-class training, so each of those 8-week periods I had previously discussed, and squish them into 1 year. Which means if all goes well and you finish this program and land an apprenticeship, you shouldn't have to come back to school again. So it means that you can just go out and continue on working. The Ontario College Diploma is more of the sort of traditional college experience. So you're going to get to take your Englishes and your maths and your general education credits. You get your summers off, sort of what we think of when we think of college, is a little bit more of a well-rounded experience. But it is very specific towards a skilled trade. And then the co-op apprenticeship diploma programs are sort of the best of both worlds. So what they do is they take the modified apprenticeship and the Ontario College Diploma program and sort of mush them into one. So you would get all of your in-class apprenticeship training plus the 2-year college diploma, and then while you're doing your paid co-op, you actually become a registered apprentice, which means that you're out there working as an apprentice during your co-op placements. Spectacular programs, the co-op diploma apprenticeships.
And are these competitive?
Very. They're some of our most competitive programs, including a job interview as part of the admissions process.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Pretty practical to have to go through that. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's say, I've not been in school for a long time. I'm, kind of apprehensive about going to college. What does college look like for me? What can I expect? What support is there that's available to me? And, will I transition smoothly? A lot of people, I find that they struggle with that fear of the unknown, fear of being unable to meet certain requirements or pass and not being able to manage everything. So what would this look like? What does college look like to someone who has no idea what college is about?
Absolutely. College can look like just about anything. And that's, I think, what I like about college is it's really good at being able to cater to what it is that you want. So we'll start off with sort of the down and dirty 1-year certificate. It's a quick way to be able to come in and get some good experience. Usually there's a placement component to it as well. Just a short certificate that'll allow you to be able to be in and out of school within a year. So sometimes that's 8 months, sometimes that's 12 months, depending on the program. And we'll give you a skill for sort of entry-level employment within an industry. When we look at a 2-year college diploma, that's again sort of going back to sort of what we all think of when we think of what community college looks like. And a 3-year advanced college diploma usually has a bit more of a placement opportunity or a co-op component to it to give you a little bit more sort of hands-on experience. A lot of people don't realize that you can get a bachelor's degree from a college. And I think that that's amazing. I think that that's a great opportunity. As someone who's very much a hands-on and applied learner, I think it's great to be able to take sort of the benefits of the community college setting with the applied learning and lots of lab time and pair that with a bachelor's degree that a lot of employers are looking for.
And you're getting a degree and diploma in the 4-year period, where if you went to university, you would just obtain the bachelor's degree.
There you go, exactly.
And you're saving money because tuition at college is significantly less than it is at university. So you're, as a wise consumer, you're actually saving money and time and gaining more out of it. So if you were doing it separately, which a lot of people go to university, and then I know a lot of people that did their undergrad and then came to do a trade at college, and that took 6 to 7 years, whereas you can do it here in 4.
Absolutely. So what a lovely segue, Christina, because that blends right into our last one of the postgraduate certificate programs. And I will admit, I am also one of those individuals who did my undergraduate first at a university and then did a postgraduate certificate at a community college because I was tired of bartending with a degree. Right. So it happens, and it happens to a lot of people. We've actually started to see the average age of our students go up because a lot of people are doing university first and then coming to college. The postgraduate certificates, I think, are, as someone who's graduated from one, I can speak to it personally, is that it really did give me sort of the extra hands-on experience, very specific towards the job that I was looking for. And I got a job really, really quickly when I was done, versus the 2 years I spent job searching after university. Right. So it really is something that I think that there's a big payoff for.
Right. And this is not to discredit any
not at all.
Post-secondary in general is just phenomenal. But you just get that hands-on.
Yeah, to be able to have some experience, to be able to do an internship, to be able to sort of get myself out into the industry, I think was a perfect complement to my undergrad. Absolutely. All right, and looking at, so for some of those who may have been out of school for a little while, or even if you haven't and you're just a little scared about starting something new, there are so many amazing services to be able to help you succeed when you get here. For those who've been out of school for a little while, maybe didn't complete their high school before leaving, or because it's been a little while and you want to brush up a little bit, we offer here a career and college transition program, which is a high school equivalency. Again, it's a tuition-free program.
ACE?
Absolutely, the ACE program, that's right. So the ACE program, which is offered over at our Ashtonby campus, allows students to go in and get a high school equivalency and really prepare them in a college environment to get ready to transition into college classes.
I absolutely love the ACE program. I couldn't speak more highly of it. I think it's just so great because it is free. So really, the fact that you don't have to invest any, it's not a financial investment, and you're getting all that support. That's really a lifelong gift, just
absolutely
to have free education and free training that'll help you propel your career and your academic life forward and a lot sooner. So there's the ACE program. Sorry.
That's okay. No, please. Always
I really love it. I really do.
It's a spectacular program. And then our career and counseling services as well. Not knowing what you want to do is okay. And that's something that I don't think that I could say enough. Is that if you're not 100% sure what you want to do, take some time to figure it out, because it's a big decision. And the horrible question of what do you want to be is a tricky one to answer. I want to be more than just a career. And so it's important to be able to look at that sort of in a well-rounded opportunity. So we do offer career counseling services to potential students as well now. We've recently hired a career counselor to be able to chat with you.
That's awesome.
It's great. As well as career services. So once you do become a student, if you're getting ready to go out on co-op, or if you're getting ready to look for either a full-time job when you're graduating, or even a part-time job to help you out while you're in school, our career services office can help you out with that as well. Yeah, which is pretty awesome. So
you can polish up your interview skills
Absolutely.
and your cover letter writing abilities, which I think, I've been out of school for a long time, but it's something we all struggle with on a regular basis. If you haven't done it in a while, everyone can polish up their interviewing skills. And I just wanted to add, with regards to like the transitioning and support at Centennial, you also get 4 hours of free tutoring a week, which is, to me, just unheard of. And I think that's just fabulous, because in other institutions, or if you want to hire a tutor privately, you're looking at somewhere between $40 to often $75 an hour that you're paying for
private tutoring.
Right.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think it's great that our library provides free tutoring for students. I think it's spectacular.
And then we also have the mentoring program, or the mentorship program, where if you'll be partnered with another a student who's not a first-year student, that'll help you transition and sort of be your liaison and your guide and your friend throughout your transition and throughout your first year of college. Is that
absolutely
accurate, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we have a great transitions team that helps out with a lot of really cool stuff on campus to be able to help make that transition into school a whole lot easier, because it can sometimes be a little bit scary. Think of the first day of grade 9 all over again.
Yeah. I remember that from when I went to school. I was in shock the first month. So I really wish that they had something like that when, back in the day.
I know. We date ourselves.
Yes. And then another thing I wanted to ask about was, how would this work for a student that has an exceptionality, and what services are available for them?
For sure. Our Center for Students with Disabilities is another wonderful service that I always like to talk about. If you have an exceptionality, if when you were in high school, you maybe had an individualized education plan, that comes with you when you come to college. The only difference that happens is that when you come to college as an adult, you have to advocate for yourself. So it becomes your responsibility to set up an appointment, to go in and talk to someone. But I think that there's a lot of services that are available for our students who self-identify. And so I think that it's always important to be able to sort of have a voice. And I think that our Center for Students with Disabilities really does a good job in helping students find their voice and being able to sort of take that and bring it to their teachers and say, I have an exceptionality. These are the accommodations that I need to be able to be successful in school. I remember reading somewhere that I think somewhere around 37% of our student body is registered with our Center for Students with Disabilities. So it's not something that you're the only one. And it's actually quite commonplace for students to self-identify. And because it's a very confidential service, nobody knows about it, but at the same time, you need to sort of be able to speak up about it too.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I think a lot of times too with college, it's not just the fear, it's not just the apprehension, it's not even just not being aware of what you want, but rather a lot of the time it's actually money. It comes down to, how am I going to finance this? Can I work at the same time? And how will, this function and not take over my life completely as a whole? And I think what's really great about our time right now is that there are so many opportunities available for students to obtain extra shingles for their pocket, be it OSAP or bursaries or awards. What sort of advice do you have for students looking to participate in a non-traditional career?
In regards to the student financial services, apply for everything. We have our student financial services offices have put everything online, which makes that whole lot easier. But they've also created something that they call the Scholarship and Bursary Questionnaire. It's just 12 questions about you. One of them, I believe, is Are You a Female in a Non-Traditional Program? Because there's $500 for you if you are.
Hello.
Yeah. And by filling out those 12 self-identifying questions about yourself, what it does then is it allows our financial services office to be able to only email you scholarships and bursaries that you meet the criteria for.
I'm going to interrupt you there.
Sure.
How does one know if they're in a non-traditional career?
That is a really good question.
So if you were to apply and you weren't, and you were meant to click, how would you know?
How would you know? If you get to class and you're the only girl there, you're in a non-traditional career. And a lot of the times we have ways of being able to figure it out in our system as well. So it could just be by entering your program code. We can figure that out for you. Yeah. But yeah, it's always a good one to be able to try and figure out.
Right. That's great that they have that questionnaire though to open that door for financial
absolutely support. Yeah.
Ooh, this is my favorite.
I know. You know what? I put this slide up solely so I can show pictures of what I've done. I was lucky enough last year to get to participate in one of our global citizenship and equity learning experiences, and I traveled to San Miguel, Ecuador last year with 17 students to go and replace an aging water infrastructure in the Andes Mountains. That's me in the red hoodie when everyone else is wearing yellow. And it was absolutely spectacular. We learned all about the scarcity of water in Ecuador. We learned all about women's access to education, which is something that I'm very passionate about, obviously. And it was just a really, really neat experience to be able to go and spend 2 weeks learning about something outside of Toronto. So for a few of the students that went on this trip with us was the first time that they've actually ever been outside of Ontario. Wow. So a pretty cool experience to get to see how someone else lives. It definitely has shortened my shower times when learning a little bit more about how lucky and how fortunate we are to have access to clean water whenever we want it. But yeah, it was a very cool experience.
They are pretty awesome programs. I know that we send about approximately 150 staff and students combined to sell programs globally. This year, our programs are actually going to China, Guatemala, Nicaragua, Costa Rica. I believe there's one in India, and then there's two in the Yukon and one in PEI. So we also participate in national programs because Canada is not perfect, and
no,
Canada
absolutely
needs assistance in certain areas too. Leadership passport. So I'm in school. I'm killing it in class. I'm ready for my career, but you know, I just need to work on and hone in on my leadership abilities. Can you tell me a little more about those types of opportunities?
For sure. And I will leave the hangar then of come back and talk to Leanne next week.
All right. Yeah.
The leadership passport is a great opportunity for students to be able to develop leadership skills and sort of stand out as a leader in their time here at Centennial. So by participating in 5 different leadership sort of components over their time here at the college, they're able to complete a leadership passport, which will provide them with a distinction in leadership when they graduate from Centennial. So that's something that shows up on your transcript. It's something awesome to be able to use to market yourself to an employer when you're looking for work. And I know I have a student this year who's working with me specifically. She's helped me develop a mentorship program for high school girls to be able to come in and experience skilled trades at Centennial. So she's in her 2nd year of aviation technology.
That's cool.
And she's worked with me now for about 1.5 years as part of her leadership passport to be able to help me develop this brand new project where we get to bring girls to Centennial and teach them all about what it's like to be a technician.
That's awesome. Yeah. These programs are not just great for what they look like on paper either. You gain so much insight about yourself and your community and where you come from. Having traveled a lot myself, I find that I learned a lot more about home. And like you said, now here you don't take really long showers, and it's the same thing with regards to the global citizenship and equity learning experiences, as well as even the leadership passport. There's a lot of reflecting that happens and a lot of self-awareness. So vital skills that I think are beneficial to anyone in or outside of their professional career.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then somebody, I guess our audience might be looking at this and think, what is CCSAI?
Absolutely. The whole thing didn't all fit on the slide. CCSAI is our Centennial College Student Association Incorporated. So that's our student association. So they represent the student body. They hold some really cool events throughout the year. They bring artists in to do concerts. They're the ones that have the gym. So especially if you're looking at going into a physically demanding, non-traditional career, being able to hit up the gym fairly often is a good idea. They also offer a lot of employment opportunities to our students while they're here studying at Centennial. And they just sort of oversee all of the sort of student advocacy work, as well as legal advice, lots of different stuff. So a good resource to be able to utilize outside of the classroom when you're here at Centennial.
To add to the athletic component, there's also varsity teams that you can join and participate in. And I think it's really awesome to align with like-minded thinkers and relax a little bit on within your student community and student body here at Centennial. And whether you choose Centennial or not, wherever you choose to go, I think it's really important to take advantage of the social aspect, because it could be beneficial to you in terms of networking. It could also be beneficial to you in terms of just creating friendships and having that support. We all get stressed out at times, and often in order to succeed, you do need to relax so that your mind has an opportunity to chill out and then reactivate in future.
Absolutely.
So at Centennial, we wish that you are to be the change you wish to see in the world. So as you can see, how would you interpret this image here? What do you think this is, to sum it all up?
This, one of my favorite slides, and I bring this back to the reference slide that we had when talking about the perceptions of women in non-traditional careers. And so with the caption of "Be the change you wish to see in the world," I encourage you all to change your perceptions, because these are the women in non-traditional careers. None of these are stock footage. I know all these girls. I took some of these pictures. And so I think that it's really important that as we push for change and we push for equity in a lot of these male-dominated occupations, that it's important that we think outside the box when we're looking at what we do. And so I definitely push you all to be the change you wish to see in the world. It's such a good quote.
It is such a good quote. It warms my heart.
It does.
Speaking of changes that we wish to see in the world, can you tell us a little bit about this YWCA? This is awesome that they have this available for young women who are looking to pursue and advance.
Absolutely. So we're actually currently recruiting for our 2 partnership programs with the YWCA of Toronto, our electrician construction maintenance program, and our refrigeration and air conditioning systems mechanic program. As I had mentioned before, they're both government funded programs, which means you're getting free tuition, free academic upgrading, as well as all of your safety equipment and your safety training. So we'll provide you with things like WMIS and CPR and first aid, fall arrest training, so all the things that you'll need to be safe on a job site. Both programs, you'll get your level 1 apprenticeship training, so either in the electrical trade or the refrigeration trade. And then we'll swap as well. So both programs will actually give you an exposure to the opposite program. So you'll spend 12 weeks doing your main trade, either electrician or refrigeration. And then you'll spend 2 weeks just sort of getting an exposure to the other trade. So you'll spend 2 weeks doing the opposite trade. And then all programs have an 8-week job placement to go along with it, which is a spectacular opportunity. I know a lot of the women last year were hired on by their job placements, which is excellent and always something we like to see. For the electrician program, our classes are going to start on April the 7th, so we're still recruiting right now for it. The refrigeration program, we still have a couple seats left. Our classes for that program begin February the 23rd, so we're coming getting very close to the end of our recruitment for that program. But spectacular programs. This is our 3rd year running the electrician program and our 2nd year running the refrigeration program. And they've been hugely successful with women going on to land apprenticeships, to land work in related fields, or to land jobs sort of as helpers or laborers while looking for an apprenticeship. So it definitely does sort of pay for itself on top of all the free stuff that you get in regards to the program, because we'll cover the cost of everything except your bus fare to get here.
Awesome.
So they're amazing classes. In terms of what you need to be able to get in, I apologize, I didn't put that on the slide. Both programs have a minimum requirement of a grade 10 education. You've got to be 16 years or older and not currently enrolled in school. So if you're still in grade 11, please finish. Do that first, and then we can talk about this one later. As well as you need to be legally able to work in Ontario. And you have to self-identify as a woman, because these are women's programs. So for each of them, our registration happens through the YWCA. So I'll actually slip to here, and I'll go to the people you need to call if you're interested in either one of those programs. You can call Catherine for the electrician program, or Karen for the, oh sorry, I got those backwards. You can call Catherine for the electrician program and Karen for the refrigeration program. And we are still holding information sessions at Centennial for both those programs up until the end of February.
Great. And I can provide these contact details for them on the event
Perfect
page as well.
Excellent. Thank you.
So that concludes our presentation on women in non-traditional careers. If anyone has any questions, we are open and excited to taking them now. If you think of a question after this presentation is complete, then you can feel free to contact us via the events page, or you can send me a personal email at cgrivas, C as in Canada, G as in George, RIVAS at centennialcollege.ca. I can also provide you with Melanie's contact details on the event. I don't see any questions at the moment, but we can. Is there anything, we can wait a little bit, is there anything else you wanted to add with regards to the presentation, or?
Oh, I'm super excited to have been here today, so I just want to thank you for it, because
really
I think that it was really neat, and thank you everyone who came to listen today too, because that's awesome. Thank you for making this first experience wonderful.
I should also add that if you know of other individuals who would benefit from viewing this, and if you want to share it with them, this will be posted on our YouTube page, and it will be available for viewing upon upon completion. So when this is done, it will be in the cyber world. So again, you can always revert back to it if you want to go over some other information again, or if you want to forward this to some other people who might benefit from it. So thanks again for joining us. I don't see that there are any questions that are being posed. So we encourage you to join us again next week for Centennial Chats. We'll actually be chatting with Leanne, who is going to tell us more about leadership opportunities available here at Centennial. So thanks a lot, and have a fantastic Wednesday. Bye.